Thank you for tuning in to Lynn Community Television's Candidate Forum with those running for state representative of the 11th Essex District. The 11th Essex covers part of West Lynn and all of Nahant. The candidates tonight are Hong Net and Sean Reid. Tonight's moderator is LCTV board member Joe Scanlon.
Good evening. I'm Joe Scanlon. I'm the moderator for tonight's event. It's the Candidates Forum for the 11th Essex District to represent the district in the Great Court, or the General Court. It used to be the General and Great Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Just a little trivia is what the legislature's formal name is, the General Court. So we're going to begin with the ground rules. You'll have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement, and then we have a series of questions. You'll have 90 seconds each to answer them. Okay? So the first opening statement will go to Hong Net, and then when the closing, we'll just reverse the order. Okay. Councillor at Large, Hong Net.
First of all, I want to thank Joe and LCTV for hosting this quorum. Sean, it's so nice to share the table with you tonight. Good evening. My name is Hong Net. I am a survivor of the Cambodian killing fields and a former refugee from Thailand. I have been living in Lynn for over 26 years. And I'm married to my wife, Tara, a mental health therapist and a senior and a director at the adult daycare center, the Rainbow. We bought our first home in Lynn 21 years ago and still living in the same house ever since. And raised our children, both Anna and William, in the city, and they both went to the Lynn public schools and went up to college. I graduated from the University of Massachusetts in Amherst with a bachelor's degree in political science in 1992. I have been working at the Department of Revenue as a child support enforcement specialist for over 27 years, provide financial assistance to the families and children in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I am a business partner at the Rainbow Adult Daycare on the Linway, providing healthcare and services to senior and adults for over 6 years. I'm also I'm honored to serve as the city councilor at large for the past 13 years, almost 14 years. And I have 30 years of experience in social services, social work, education, and government leadership. I'm run for state representative for 11th Essex District because I want to, I believe that I can bring a fresh and experienced outlook to the legislature. And thank you very much for your time.
Okay, school committee person, Sean Reid.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks to you and to LCTV for not only this event, but for all your fantastic coverage in this election and all the elections. My name is Sean Reid. I'm running for the seat as well. Thank you, Hong, too, of course, my good friend Hong. My name is Sean Reid. I'm running for the seat, obviously. Having been raised in West Lynn, I face a number of hurdles. I was born to a teen mother. Shortly after I was born, my father was incarcerated, and then my mother struggled with substance use and mental health challenges. We became housing insecure, and I've, faced a lot of issues growing up. But I only bring that up to say I was only able to overcome these issues because of this community that we're in right here. So I've dedicated my entire life to giving back to it. In my day job, I tackle some of the most pressing issues facing our residents as legislative director for Senator Brendan Creighton. In my role as a school committee member, I advocate for families, students and teachers like my wife Kelsey, who's a special ed teacher here in Lynn Public Schools. And also in my community work, I'm on the board at My Brother's Table. I'm on the board at the YMCA, and I also co-founded a nonprofit, Kayak and Sail Lynn, that helps give opportunities to youth, recreational opportunities to youth. I haven't just obviously worked on these issues, but I mentioned earlier I lived them, and I look forward to speaking about how I want to use my personal and professional experience to move this district forward and give opportunities for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both. And we're going to begin with a series of questions, some of which have been submitted by our viewing audience and some of which have been developed in-house, so to speak. Hong went first. Last time, Sean will take the first question. And it'll be the same question. You have 90 seconds. Not counting my time to read it. First question. We've had community members submit questions. Okay. Though it is not in the 11th District, King Beach is on a lot of people's minds. The 11th District does, however, have a significant amount of waterfront and water-related concern of its own. Rick Casilli, who submitted the question, wants to know, as part of our state government, how will you champion in the fight to clean up our beaches?
Thank you so much, Joe. Obviously, this whole district, there's a lot of coastline on this whole district, going from Lynn Shore Drive all the way down to Nahant. I think the environmental issues are going to be one of the biggest challenges that we face as a state representative. I think there's a couple different buckets we got to look to. The first one, of course, is the damage that's already done. What do we do about that? So I think we have to take action on the physical structures, of course, maintaining our retaining walls. I think we've all been down there where we've seen that there's some disrepair. We got to make sure that we stay on top of that and we push DCR and we push other organizations to make sure that they're doing that. We also need to think more about both natural and innovative barriers to stop anything further from those structures. But beyond that, you know, we also have to think, how do we prevent further damage, which is a bigger conversation around sea rise level and global warming. Of course, we have to clean our grid up, have more solar, less reliance on non-renewable energy. We need to create more efficient building code, and we also need to electrify our public transit so that we're not spewing all these fumes into the air that we've been doing for so many years. So those are the big two buckets. I also want to mention that I have been endorsed by the Sierra Club because of my commitment to the environment in my work on some of these issues in both Senator Crichton's office. So thank you.
Well, climate change is a very serious issue right now. It's Kings Beach is always is a problem, and because we keep polluting our water, and it's not our fault because we need funding and to find other ways to stop polluting our beaches. And the dune projects in Nahant also they need funding right now. They're short of $2 million, and I'm sure that as a state representative, we can find ways to fund them, because it's serious. Every time a storm comes in, so it's flood Nahant, and the causeway is really have a very difficult time for them to cross the way to come to Lynn, and we always find way for them to need help, and we need to find a solution with that. And as a member of the Friend of the Lynn and Nahant Beach, and so our organization have been working hard with our state delegation to find funding and to help us. So all we do is just keep cleaning our beach, but we need a better solution by doing that, to make sure that we are understanding, stop polluting our water, and it's pretty bad. So we need to find a way to stop that.
Okay. The next question is a two-part question, and I'm going to ask the first part first, the second part second. That makes sense, right? So the first part, and this is submitted by a viewer, Charlie Clark, sent us concerns about displacement and wants to know if you'll commit to opening up conversations about discussing anti-displacement policies at the State House. Hong, you go first.
What does it mean, displacement state? Can you clarify that?
I assume that is people not being able to stay in their homes and through economic conditions or whatever, yeah.
Yes, living in a situation in Massachusetts is very, very costly, very expensive. And people are moving out of the state because of the high cost of living and housing. And as state representative, we can do a lot more by working with an organization, with the city, and I know all these decisions got to be made by the city councilor and city officials, but we need to find funding to help them because we want them to stay in the house. So we're going to stay in Massachusetts, and it's very sad that they lose they move away from the community, and many people they don't want to go anywhere. They want to stay here. And yeah, as a state representative, we have to work with our elected official and locally, and to get funding to help them build more housing, and not necessarily just for affordable housing, but we have to find way to help homeowners as well because they cannot afford to buy houses in this district, and we don't want them to go anywhere. So that's my commitment as a state representative. We have to find funding to help them to build, make sure there's more open space available for building as well. Yeah.
Sean?
Charlie, thank you for that question. I think we all know we're in a tough situation. It's the result of decades and decades of bad land use policies. And now we're at a point where even communities like Lynn, which have traditionally been affordable, are no longer affordable. As I mentioned, this issue is really personal to me as someone who was housing insecure, someone who has lived in a shelter and understands the real effects that displacement has on both adults and children. Of course, we got to tackle the supply and demand side of this. There's just simply not enough affordable housing. We need to improve the zoning laws. We need new revenues at a state level that they can give to the cities and towns for affordable house trust funds. We need produce and preserve more deed-restricted housing. And even beyond private development, inclusionary zoning, we also need to talk about public housing. I mean, I know there's a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because it hasn't always gone well in this country, but Joe, you worked at Elhand. They do a great job there to make sure that our seniors, our disabled, our low income are taken care of. But to the specific issue about displacement, while we're tackling all these issues, we also do need to think about how can we keep people in their homes. Of course, we need to expand rental assistance programs through funding some of these new revenues. We also need to think about how we can make some of these permanently affordable. We also have to consider rent stabilization policies, local option. There's a great bill out there that I will co-sponsor that needs to happen so to keep people in their home while we're working on these housing production. And also, we can't just think about the units. We also have to think about the conditions, because so many people are desperate and they stay in bad apartments because they have to. Thank you.
Okay. Now, the second part of the question is related, but it's a concern of the governor, it's a concern of Secretary of State Bill Galvin, and it's a concern of mine. Massachusetts in the whole has experienced a reduction in population. How can this be reversed?
Do I go first on this one?
Who went?
He went first, but
you go first. Yeah.
Okay. So the question is around how do you stop migration out of the state? Look, I think the number one thing is housing affordability, which we just talked about. People, I've had so many friends who love this community, but have no other choice but to move out of state, up to New Hampshire or south, because there's just simply not enough opportunities. Of course, we have to tackle the housing part, but also just the cost of living in general. We have to work on it as a state. We also have to look how can we better, educate our populations to get the high-paying jobs in the first place. And really, make sure that they have the opportunities to give back to the communities that they grew up in. I think a lot of us here probably all, at one point or another felt that. So, yeah, I think a lot of it's honestly related to housing. Also, I know transportation is a big concern of why I was reading a survey, why people leave. It's very hard to get around from point A to point B, even just across Lynn. So I think housing, transportation, and then, I think here in Lynn, a lot of our schools are overcrowded, so people think about education. I think those are the big three things that we have to tackle, and once we do, you will see more and more families want to stay and be able to stay.
Right, yes. So Lynn is getting very crowded. We all understand that, and people come from all over the world. And it's a great thing. It's a great city, and it's a great district. We welcome them. I'm one of them, so I'm here because of the open arm that our community welcome us. But it's getting very, very expensive to live once again. So housing is crisis right now, not just in our district, so it's nationwide. So that need to be addressed immediately, and we cannot hold any longer. And jobs, that's important also. So we need to create small business in our community, because businesses are also closing doors, and due to so much rules and regulation, and make them very difficult to open a business and stay maintained. We have to find ways to help them be more friendly about businesses. So because there's so many people here, and they cannot afford to stay due to the high cost, and also business being closed. But at the same time, we have to find ways to help them. And there's housing is like over and over again. Housing issues is a nation crisis. So we need to build more housing, but need to find an open space. So there's a brownfield, so that need to be cleaned up. So we need to use that space to build more housing for our residents.
Okay. Now, the next, it's related. It's submitted by a question that's been paraphrased. It was submitted by Cindy Rodriguez. And it's a very simple, straightforward question. Hong will go first. What is your position on rent control?
Rent control has been 30 years now. Rent control has not been revisited. So I'm in favor of revisiting rent control, because people cannot afford to pay $2,000 a month for renting. It's too high for them, and job is $15 an hour, $20 an hour. It's not enough for them to pay renting, and we have to revisit it for rent control So that way to keep people live in the community. So by the rents, the landlord keep raising rental every month, every year. So that's give people a hard time to enjoy themselves, and create a lot of burden among their families themselves. So a lot of stress to it. So rent controls is always a good thing. We need to revisit it, and I'm in favor of rent control. But we have to be mindful to make sure that landlords are able to pay their mortgages as well. But rent control is always a good thing. We have to revisit after 30 years. Thank you.
Yeah, I already mentioned this, I think, a little bit, Joe, in my last answer about displacement. I am in favor of a local option rent control, giving the cities and the towns the decision the power to just make that decision. I think, we don't even just have a moral obligation to do this, an economic obligation to do this, but we have like a community obligation to do this. When there's no sense of stability, it's very hard to build community, and that's how communities get torn apart. A lot of people, when we bring up rent control, they'll say, well, that's not going to solve the issue. Yeah, we know that's not going to solve the supply and demand root cause, but it keeps people in their homes, and that's what people really need right now. I do want to also mention that I think there are, the bill in particular that I'm interested in, there are certain safeguards for mom and pop landlords, which I think Hong was referring to, and also new development, so that it isn't spurred. It doesn't stop new development, because of course we need new development to tackle the supply issue, but there is a lot of data to support that this can be successful and also attack the housing crisis at the same exact time. So yes, I am supportive and will co-sponsor if elected.
Okay. The next question, Sean will go first. Okay. The legislature is facing severe criticisms for the amount of unfinished business that was left unresolved at the conclusion of the formal session. What are your thoughts on this matter, and will you support significant rule changes to reform the process?
Yeah, I think I'm a little biased for this one. I work in the legislature currently as legislative director for Senator Brendan Creighton, and it is incredibly frustrating. I think a lot of people, when they hear someone working in the legislature is running for a position, they think, oh, they know how to, quote unquote, play the game, but they know how to get things done. But we also know what's broken. And we're some of the most frustrated people having to work on legislation for months and months and months on end. And then for something not to get done, it is extremely frustrating. There needs to be more rules that give committee chairs more power to have say over legislation. There has to be more transparency around sort of how people vote, how people get things done. And there has to be a renegotiation of the joint rules and committee, which basically says how the legislature is run, because we left too much at the table at the July 31st deadline, including some important legislation, whether it's maternal health or whether it's veterans, but just so many different bills that need to get done. So yes, there needs to be reforms. I'm in the building. I feel the sense that things really are changing, and as the new generation, the new legislators are elected, I hope everyone keeps that in mind, because it's just what's happening right now is not working and people are suffering.
Councillor?
Well, as a city councillor for over a decade, and I have some experience in dealing with tougher issues like that, because you get things passed, it's not easy, but as long as you make commitment to it, as long as you insist about it. And I understand a lot of people say that, so in the State House it's very difficult to get things done, and because there's so many different ideas in there, and yes, to get things done is difficult, but as long as we get your supporter, get the people behind it, before we do anything, before we bring the bill to the floor, we have to consult with our constituents first, and we get the support from our constituents, our people from the district, and we always can find ways to get things done, because politicians elected to serve the people. That's how I feel. So as long as we represent the people well, and we listen to our concerns, and so we can get things done. But I just got to keep pushing, because I had done it as a city councillor to get past the Human Rights Commission was passed, so it was not easy, but I was able to make it done. And to end the taxi monopoly company was not easy, and get things done. So as long as you have the supporter behind you and work on behalf of the interest of the resident or the people that represent, that can be done.
I think that's especially true where both sides in these matters agree in principle, so it can be...
Same party.
Yeah, it can be frustrating. So, and here's the next question is the result of what didn't get done. The Stewart Hospital debacle has shed significant light on community hospitals. Please share your thoughts on how the state can improve health care and health care delivery to the district, and Lynn in particular.
Well, healthcare is a big issue as well. So a lot of people still have to pay a very high cost of healthcare. Sometimes I don't want to go to the doctor because I have to pay. Copay is very costly, and prescription drugs also is very costly, and especially it's hard for senior. So there's got to be a bill in place that will help to find ways to lower cost for healthcare. And being a hospital being closed and shortage of doctors and nurses, it's not very easy. But there's always a solution that we can work on, as long as we insisting about it, and we have to think about our residents first. And our seniors are very vulnerable about that. And my wife runs an adult day care center, a health care center, so she understands that healthcare is important, but luckily we have the resource and to help our seniors and adults manage to take care of their health through our center, and they are very healthy now. And so before they had a hard time to walk, so now they're very healthy. But thankful we're able to do that, and we got to put more effort to fight for funding for this project. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Joe. I talked to a lot of voters, and they still bring up Union Hospital quite a bit. It's on a lot of people's mind, and it leaves a big gap in our community. I think for the hospital situation in particular, I think there needs to be more oversight over hospitals that the state has. They need to be more transparent in the reporting. And also, I think that the state has to use its power more. We have to pass a bill that allows the state to take over hospitals when they're trying to make these bad exits, and find a way to keep them open, because the impacts aren't just on that community, but on the surrounding communities that become overwhelmed. So that's the hospital. More generally in healthcare, we need Medicare for all. It's been talked about for a long time. It's long overdue. Not only does it have cost benefits, but it also just makes it simpler for people to get it, especially seniors. You go off Mass Health, you have all these different forms you got to fill out, and it's just an absolute mess, and I think everyone truly would benefit from Medicare for all. Also, there was a bill that made it really far in the legislature that would put a cap on certain chronic medications for chronic illnesses. I think that's really, really important that we do something like that, because it's not fair. A lot of these drug companies are taking advantage of these people with these chronic illnesses, and sometimes they're losing care. But for Lynn in particular, I also think we have this wonderful Lynn Community Health Centers. We got to continue to support their work and their growth. And we've got, as a legislative director, we've secured some funding for them. We need to continue to support their model and listen to them, because everything they touch turns to gold, and they're right here based in our community.
Okay. The next question, Sean, you're going to go first.
Sure.
And it's not an issue question, it's a kind of a personal question.
Good.
If you win, are you planning on giving up your current elected position, such as school committee or city councilor? And that was submitted by Lisa Pressman.
Thank you, Lisa. I am not planning on giving up my seat. I am planning to finish out my term as a school committee member. Look, it's one of, my work on the school committee is actually one of the reasons why I decided to run for this seat. I think we're trying to do a lot of work, particularly around our facilities and education. We're so overcrowded. Our schools are so outdated. And we're really trying hard to make the most of what we got, the space that we have, and even trying to purchase new buildings or lease space. We're trying to be creative as possible, but what I've realized is we're capped out. Even if we operate 100% efficiency, which we never do, no one ever does, we still just don't have enough resources. I've worked at the State House on legislation to reform the school funding formula from the MSBA, and that's what needs to happen, and that is one of my top priorities. And I think having that perspective, being on the ground level, and also serving the State House will really help in terms of the education, particularly around the school building issues, expanding vocational education, and also addressing the teacher shortage from a state perspective. So yes, I'm staying on, and I think it will be a big advantage having that perspective.
Yeah, it's a very good question, but for me, I really can't say it now, because this all depends how much work at the State House. And I always want to commit 100% to the job I ever get elected. And I like to stay through the term, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I want to do an effective job, and as a state legislator. And there's so many issues that need to be completed, need to be improved, because I'm happy. I'm glad that people keep electing me to be councillor, and I want to finish my term as well. But at the same time, we got to look at how much work on the other side. So in this way, I like my colleagues at the council. We work well together. We have so many projects need to be done, and so I hope it's not overwhelming for me at the State House, so I can stay on to finish my term. That's what I wish. But in the meantime, I cannot make any promise. I cannot say I'm going to leave quit my job as a councillor early or finish the term. But I like to finish the term. But again, so I got to go back to depend on how much work at the State House, and I want to commit 100% to my to the job to make sure that I serve the constituent well.
Okay.
Good question, Lisa.
You guys are doing a good job staying on time, so let's try and keep it that way. So this one you can just tell us whether you're going to support us or not. Local cable stations are vital to the public's ability to be informed of local issues and actions by their elected representatives. Local cable revenues are drastically declining. Hear that out there? As viewers switch to streaming services. Would you support and co-sponsor legislation to modernize local community funding?
Am I going first?
This is Hong first. Yep.
So yeah, absolutely. Local TV television is very vital to our community. So we receive so much information and so much resources, and we know so much. We learn so much from our television, and I'm 100% support that, and I want to fight for funding to make sure that the local television expanding and modernizing more. So we already have a beautiful place, but it's always room for improvement. It's always more funding need to be funded. We need more people, more employees to help you guys, because it's not enough. Just a few of you is not enough, because this is huge business, and we all depend. The whole North Shore pyramid depend on this. So we need to find every possible way to help them. I wholeheartedly support, and I will do everything to convince my colleague at the State House to fund this your project.
You realize we're recording this?
Yes, we are. Oh, I'm committed to it. Yeah, I'm committed to it. Yes.
Joe, I think you probably wanted a yes or no answer, but I just wanted to explain this issue quickly. I've worked on this issue quite a bit. So how it always worked was cable companies, think Comcast, Verizon, etc., for using city infrastructure or whatever you want to call it, they had to pay into a fund, and that money went to local television stations like LCTV, who does a great job and goes above and beyond. Now people are cutting the cord. So Hulu and Netflix and all these other ones, they're still using infrastructure. It's just different. It's Wi-Fi. It's digital infrastructure. But they haven't had to pay anything like this. I think it's a no-brainer. I've worked on this issue. I've talked to the folks at LCTV and other local communities around here about this issue. It just makes no sense, as the times are changing, that the funding stream isn't changing with it. I'm 100% behind this, and more generally, funding for local journalism and local TV stations is something that's near and dear to my heart. And yeah, it's really a no-brainer, and I hope we can get it done.
I hope so too, because without that,
We might not have any more debates.
and it's so important for democracy and everything in general. Okay, the next question, and I guess it's Sean goes first. The MBTA has real challenges, but at the same time, our regional economy and the state's economy depend upon it. What are your thoughts, and are you willing to support increases in revenue streams?
Yeah, look, I work for the chair in transportation, done a lot of work around revenues and looking at, there's a newly formed revenue task force that's looking into it. They're the experts from all sectors and saying, how can we do it? We definitely need more revenue. We're hitting a fiscal cliff, and the MBTA is just not going to have money. We're already hitting that cliff, but luckily there was some federal money during COVID. ARPA, I don't know if it was ARPA dollars, but some type of federal funding that helped us avoid that cliff, but it's just been pushed off. There has to be something. I will say there's something around, I would call it toll equity, fare equity, coming from Lynn, coming from Nahant. You have to hit the tolls. When you come from other parts of the state, and this probably won't make me too popular with some other people around the state, you don't have to hit the same tolls even though you're coming from the same distance. You don't have to pay those fees. So that's one potential revenue stream. The gas tax is going down because more people are switching to electric vehicles. Good thing. But we're losing a lot of revenue. We get so much revenue from that. And it's really, really problematic, because how are we going to replace that? Not only do we need to sustain our current levels, we need to go above, and we're not going to be able to sustain our current levels because of the gas tax. There's a lot of different options out there. We could talk about it forever, but I'm interested in seeing the recommendations of this task force that Senator Creighton is on, and I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff, and we just can't sustain on this path. So.
Yeah, MBTA is very important for our community, because people travel to Boston because the reason it's important because people in our district go to work in Boston because where high-paying jobs are, and that, of course, we need to get more money to support this, and it's vital to us. And electrify would be a wonderful ways to do it, and I take MBTA, and so that way it costs less and also help the environment as well by taking MBTA, and that's. We need to find way to get more. I know Senator Creighton have done a very good job to push this, and we appreciate his effort. And there's always more we can do to help him. And so we need to go there and help him to get more money and make sure we. If we have blue lines connect to it, would be great, but it's going to be a long way to go. And but don't give up, so keep pushing it. And so people are, Sean's right. So people are switching to electric cars now, and So gas is going down, which is great, and we should continue to do that, and I support that as well. And let's focus more to get our MBTA working well and efficiently on schedule, and people can ride more and save more energy for us. Thank you.
I'm not even going to ask if the Blue Line's coming to Lynn. I mean,
Smart man.
They were very close when around 1979 or 80, and it never happened. So, the MBTA, was talking about them again. The MBTA garage services the entire district. It needs to be rebuilt. Do you have any thoughts on this matter as to the size and location of a replacement?
Well, that location is right, but I just need to improve it because you need to have more light in it because people feel unsafe there. And I know that I just recently opened it. It's closed for a while. It reopened, and it's a wonderful thing. And people start to ride again. But there's always room for improvement. And like I said, it's more lighting, and so that we're more vibrant in there. And the schedule got to be on time at all time. And so we're not going to go anywhere. So that's the place. There's no other places to put right now. Just keep the way it is, but just improve it. That's all. Because it's old, but I know that our delegation try very hard to get funding to help this to improve. But there's always room for improvement. And that's if I'm elected, I will work very hard with our current delegation to get funding, at least to put more lighting, and so that way people feel safe, because people complain. They call me all the time. They feel unsafe there. And the community college right here is so close, so it's good for students, good for everybody. So people live in downtowns benefit so much from this garage, so that they go to work in Boston and somewhere else. Thank you.
Yeah, as someone who formerly lived in downtown, that space is so integral to the area, particularly the parking. Having said that, I think we're in such a unique situation, have such a good opportunity, having a parcel in the center of our downtown that is, we can do anything with, that we imagine. I think that garage is in complete disrepair, and the MBTA has agreed to it, and they've tried to close it down a couple times. And I think the MBTA is committed to thinking bigger than just a parking garage. I think we can definitely restore all those spaces, but at the same time, we could have mixed-use development there. We could have, it's right across from the community college, right across from the building that the city's trying to acquire. There's so much synergy there that we need to use this parcel and think as big as we can. And especially we got the train station being redone, albeit not for a few years, several years now, unfortunately. But there's just so much potential there around transit-oriented development and making sure that it has good connectivity with the station and the spaces around it. So I'm going to push for a bigger vision, not get rid of any parking spots, but also add to that. It's such a waste of space, and it has gone in total disrepair, and it's very frustrating because it's not even that old. And we just need to continue to work with our state partners. It's well on the governor's radar, on the administration's radar, and other quasi-state agencies who want to help out. So we're just I know it seems like a big challenge, but we really need to view this as a big opportunity and take full advantage of this and make it a core and central piece of our downtown and transit system and downtown economy.
It's not that old, to tell you both, because I voted for it.
Oh, you did? Okay. So that means you're still young.
Yeah. All right. It wasn't in the 80s, but I remember it well. Okay. Next question. And Sean will go first. There are several major state roadways in the district. What are your thoughts on modernizing and improving the Linway and Carroll Parkway?
Yeah, this goes back to my other answer. I really, one of my big interests why I was running for this was just that whole stretch from the General Edwards Bridge all the way down to the Rotary. There is so much potential there. And I know, there's some things people agree with, some things disagree with. What I say is the community should all have input in this. And also, we all need to think of this as a part of a bigger vision. When you see one thing happen, don't just think of that in isolation. Think of this as a whole new part of our city. I mean, we all know that we wasted this land use for a long time. We have the Harbor Park, starting at the General Edwards Bridge. We have a few great developments, some of which are going to be mixed use. My hope is that we don't just keep building only apartments. Of course, we can build up and have apartments, but have spaces for the public to use and have mixed-use development, have retail on the bottom floor, especially as you're coming into the city. It's the gateway to the city. So starting all the way down at the old Building 19, going all the way down to the porthole, I think we should be thoughtful and really the city and the state delegation should push to maximize every piece of parcel because we have a Walmart on the water, and that's just not going to cut it anymore. And we need to do all we can to envision it and to make sure it's community input, and that it lies with the city's vision and the mayor's vision as well. So excited about that, and always will be in communication with constituents, the MBTA, MassDOT, DCR, making sure that we take full advantage of this. Like I said about the garage.
So yes, the Linway remind me to Puerto Rico. It's such a beautiful road, and. But yeah, we try our best right now to modernize the road, and But what I can see that because of so many beautiful building being built for our resident by the Walmart, and we have a green space coming up, and the new condos, condominium, high-rise condominium coming up. So I want to fight for money to have an overpass in that area. So that way people can walk back and forth, become a lively place. So instead of they have to wait for the light and run across the street, we have to have an overpass. So that I don't think it's going to be a lot of money. We can fight for it because it's important that we'll increase our business that area, and because it's a wonderful place to be, and people in Revere will come to enjoy the place, and across the street can stand on the overpass and take pictures and vision, see all these beautiful things, beautiful beach, beautiful water, beautiful green space behind Walmart. So this is a future for us. So I committed to fighting for funding to have an overpass that particular area that will help our community.
Okay. The next question, Hong, you're going to go first. What provisions in the state economic development legislation can be added to improve the economic viability of Lynn? And it says here, feel free to think outside the box.
Well, we always need economic development is very important for our city. And we need funding, we need money. We not just rely on the state grant or federal. We need to have our own revenue. As the chairman of the Ways and Means for over 6 years, so my colleagues and I have been working very hard, closely, make sure we spend money wisely, and ever since we haven't had any debt in the city, which is a wonderful place. But we always need funding. Yes, we have to reach outside the box, like I said, reach out to different companies, go different country, basically sell Lynn, that we need people to come to invest in Lynn, by make sure that public safety is the main priority. Make sure they still feel safe to be here. Make sure that the rules and regulation at the City Hall is friendly enough for business to come to invest in our city. But I want to stress over and over again, I have been working with police department and fire department frequently to make sure that we all have the resources to support them so they can keep our city safe, so that way we can attract more businesses to come to Lynn. And every year I organize the Cambodian New Year, like thousands and thousands of people come, so they bring a lot of money to the city. But we want to see that more often in our city by make sure they feel safe.
Thank you, Joe. That's another bill that the legislature is still kind of up in the air, the economic development bill. So there's a lot of good stuff. I think we should think, and I think at the state level, you really think of economic development very broadly, not just sort of businesses, which is, of course, is the biggest part of it, but also thinking about infrastructure, thinking about improvements to the roads and the bridges so people can get around. So that's just a point I wanted to make, is I think we should think about that very broadly. One thing, I was reading a survey the other day, and I think for businesses in particular, they have right now, there's two big concerns. The first is capital. It's very hard for businesses to expand right now because they feel unsupported, especially when they want to expand. They just need that first push, even when they have large revenue streams, which is very difficult. And the other is we all got to address in any economic or even public sector is our workforce shortages. It's very, very difficult right now. We've all gone out one place or another, and things haven't been like they used to be because of our workforce shortages. So making sure that we are, for state contracts, we're providing enough money so that people can do these jobs, and also, making sure that people are getting into free pathways. I think, to me, the biggest economic driver that's happened last session is free community college for all residents. I'm a community college graduate, and I know that people go to amazing places in a short amount of time there. I think that is going to be one of the single biggest economic drivers, not just for this region, but for the whole state. And I hope the country follows that model, because you can get people into these jobs, especially at a time when employers are desperately trying to hire, especially for good paying and well-established careers. So yeah, I think education and infrastructure are really big when it comes to economic development, particularly for this region.
I said think outside the box, so you both did. So
Trying to.
yeah, public safety and education, you managed to get that in there.
Yeah.
So, okay, the last question, and Sean, you'll go first.
Sure.
This is one of those ones where you can think big too. What other priorities do you have for the district as well as for the city of Lynn and the town of Nahat?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we have so much potential in this region. I think we know that, and I think especially in this side of the causeway, we felt like it's been underused for so many years. But just to recap, I think transportation, we all know that. Housing, we all know that. Environment, obviously very important. Education, obviously, that's very important. Beyond that, I really think that there's a lot that we can do for what I would call care. Whether it's mental health, access to mental health care, whether it's just health care, whether it is substance use care. There are so many people struggling across this district that I talk to every single day. And it's just, enough is enough. I think people really want real solutions that we need to fight hard for. So I think that's probably my one priority that we haven't talked about, especially requiring insurance companies to cover mental health screenings at a larger rate and parity and things like that. Whether it's educating on mental health, whether it's increasing investment in behavioral health in Massachusetts that has been underinvested for so long. So I think really investing in our mental health will help our community as a whole, both communities as a whole, and push our district even further forward and let people live better and be a hub for service. So. Okay.
Yes, city of Lynn and Han is a wonderful place, a potential and well known, and people come all over the world to live in this district, and invest in people. That's the key. We need to make sure our people educated by have modern good school like a Marshall Mill School, something like that, and also invest in education and trade. So, and of course, hospital. We want to see the hospital back to the city, but it's not going to happen any sooner. I understand that. School is important, hospital, and jobs, and once again, investment in the city, because we have so many potential people in our district, and that's just need to find resources for them to invest in our district. Especially, like I said, many people come from all over the country, all over the world, and they bring skills, education, and many things that they can offer to our district. So let's help them by finding ways, help from the State House to help them to build a better new school, more hospital, and more business, so that way we can have our residents here don't go anywhere and work here and be a part of our community. Thank you.
Okay. Before we go to the closing remarks, I just want to remind everyone that Primary Day is Tuesday, September 3rd.
Getting close.
Getting close, and LCTV will be doing our results for the district that evening. I'll be here along with Representative Dan Cahill and Magnolia Contreras, and we'll have the boiler room set up with Rosario Fresco and Harry McCabe and the great staff here at LCTV. So the closing remarks, Hong will go first, and then Sean, second. We've just been alternating.
So, all right.
Yeah, we've been alternating.
Okay, all right, okay. I don't want to steal your spotlight. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. Again, thank you, Joe, and the LCTV for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. As a city councilor and a chairman of the Ways and Means for over 8 years, there's so many tough decisions and budgeting decisions that I help to make to fund our projects such as a new Marshall School, new Pickering Mill School, new senior center, the Gateway North housing development, the storm, new water storm station, and inclusion of zoning for affordable housing, bypass to the sea expansion, and many more projects that I have done. During my 7 terms as a city councilor at large, I chaired many committees, and some of my accomplishments were ending the taxi monopoly, relocating boarding stations throughout the city to accommodate voters, work with the YMCA and the city to bring the YMCA building to Lynn and to help expand the arts and culture district in downtown Lynn. But I'm most proud of that I created the first human rights commission to establish to ensure that all residents are created fairly and equally. And as your state representative, I will continue to fight for public safety, education, environmental, infrastructure, housing, and healthcare and economic development. I want to thank Representative Peter Capano for his dedication to our district. I will continue to his legacy by putting politics aside and make the right decision for our district. And I believe that the government serves us best when the policy we make accurately represent the need and the concern of the people. And together we can ensure that future will benefit every family in Lynn. I respectfully ask for your vote on September 3rd and to be your next state representative. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you to the team, and thank you for everyone watching at home on a Monday night. I really appreciate your dedication, especially when it seems like there's nothing on the ballot in September. There's a lot of important things on there, so it's really appreciate the viewership. Look, people are struggling right now, whether it's dealing with the rising cost of living, especially housing, whether it's sending their kids to outdated and overcrowded schools, whether it's getting from point A to point B, which we talked about a lot throughout this interview. And when you put this, couple this with the fact that we're losing a true champion in Rep. Capano, who we almost got through without thanking, so that's a good call, Hong. We're losing a true champion for working class and family values. We don't have time to wait. We need someone who's ready to serve the first day, and I believe I'm that candidate. I believe I'm that candidate because of my direct state house experience. They say that the best indicator of future success is past successes. And I've proven that I could do it to help get legislation passed, to help navigate complex state agencies and organizations. So I really think my state house experience will be invaluable. Also my local experience in the school committee, the grassroots experience advocating for people, whether it's the smallest issue, it seems like the smallest issue or the biggest issue when it comes to school facilities, and also all my deep ties in the community, all my work in different organizations. I've been thinking a lot about the future. My wife's 8 months pregnant right now, and I get really anxious about a lot of these issues. But I've talked to thousands of voters throughout this campaign, and honestly, a lot of the same issues are on their mind. But it makes me very optimistic because people are really up for the challenge of tackling issues, and I really look forward to working with everyone in this community. I'm very accessible. I'm an open book. A lot of people have my cell phone. I get back to you quick, and I really look forward to working with many people if I'm elected to tackle these issues and create a brighter future for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. I mean, as you folks can see, this is a very difficult job. There's many challenges in the community. There's a lot of issues out there, and I think either one will represent us well, and I'm glad you both spoke to the service of Representative Peter Capano, because he served the city a long time as a city councilor and as a state representative. So, and everybody, don't forget to vote on Tuesday, September 3rd. It comes up fast, right after, with the day, Tuesday after Labor Day. So it's the day to go vote, and primaries in City of Lynn and Nahant for state rep are very, very important, because there's no final. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
I just think as a body, we're going to face questions from others, you know, like even trash collection that can't happen before
Right,
7.
can't happen before 7 o'clock.
And I'm assuming that this same truck has a generator on it that's working and operating from that 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. period.
Yeah.
So my concern is that it's going to fall back on us as a body with that early start.
Councilman Toole, what's your ward, so what's your...
Can I say that in Spanish so that he...
You can, but the hearing is kind of closed. You just ask questions to him where we can
Okay.
repeat it back. Yeah, go ahead. Ask him if you want. Yeah.
El concejal está diciendo que él no está de acuerdo a que se abra a las 5 de la mañana, debido a que muchos restaurantes tienen la ordenanza que no pueden empezar a trabajar antes de las 7. Entonces, si ustedes estarían dispuestos a abrir un poquito más tarde.
Está bien. Sí, sería cambiar la hora un poco.
Okay.